Good morning, everybody. I'm finally here. I finally found the phone. I couldn't even have given you a message of why I was late. I'm sorry. Ay, ay, ay. I've got to figure out these things about the phone and all the stuff I have to fix. And don't play. My goodness. Okay, my little cat is here, and she's destabilizing the she's destabilizing the tripod. Oh gosh. Okay, okay, okay. This is Zia Fira, woman of many names. Yes, you are. You're Zia, you're Ying, you're Fira, you're Fatima, you're Fatima. Okay, all right. Sit still. Goodness. All right, today we were with Wickedly Smart Women. My computer is being fixed. My lamp, as you can tell, has come back, so I no longer have to rely on those little lamps behind me. I have yes, I have plastic on them. I have plastic on them because I have to make sure that my cats don't want to lick them. Um, they don't like the crinkling sound when they try to bite on it. So anyway, yes, that is my excuse. All right, for us today, we are reading in chapter 7. We're reading chapter 7. The title is an interesting one. It's a little longer than usual. It's more than the 7 words that are standard. Chapter 7. I trusted. I made the leap. $50,000 fell out of the sky. I found my life's work and the man of my dreams, plus a happiness and contentment I never imagined was possible. By Debra Stangl. Good morning, John Clark. I heard an interesting sound they gave us here as you showed up, and that's a nice thing. Okay, this cat is still destabilizing my tripod, so what am I going to do? Okay, what am I going to do? Okay, good girl. All right, sit still. Sit still. In January 1999, right around the time of my 47th birthday, I was at a real low point in my life. Every single part of my life was a mess. I hated my work. I had just started my 20th year as a divorce attorney in Omaha, Nebraska, and it was just so negative, fighting with the other attorneys and being surrounded by mostly unhappy and heartbroken people. I loved the part where I was helping my clients, but that only felt like about 10% of what I was doing. I was in a bad marriage. I was more than 40 pounds overweight. That's like me, except for the marriage part. I was $50,000 in debt from some bad business decisions my husband Tom had made, but for which I was responsible because we were married. That debt weighed so heavily on me. By this time, we had been under the debt for over 5 years, and no matter what I did, I couldn't even seem to make it go away. I would take on more cases, economize, etc., but nothing ever seemed to make a dent in it. I would wake up in the morning and go to bed at night with a knot in my stomach about it. Even worse, 5 years later, Tom had started another business and was in the startup phase, not yet producing any income. During those 5 years, I would meditate and pray and say, "Dear God, I'm so unhappy. Please tell me what to do." Occasionally, I would hear a very small voice that would say to me, "You need to leave your law practice." Whenever I would hear that voice, it would actually make me angry. How can I possibly leave my law practice? I'm $50,000 in debt. I have no money in savings. I am our sole support. How can I possibly leave my law practice? What I failed to understand at the time was that this was my intuition giving me the exact information I needed for my highest good. I just wasn't listening. Let me explain. We all have a high self, the highest part of ourselves, which is directly connected to the divine. As the connection to the divine shows up, that's Dea right there. I believe our intuition is the means by which our high self communicates with us. Our high self is giving us information all the time. Now, you will notice that many authors are talking about the higher self now. And the rules authors do, Debra Stangl does, and other authors that we have read do. The higher self is where we are attaining something with a lot more virtue than we had before. At least that's my definition of it. Our high self is giving us information all the time about big and small, about things big and small, about things that are about things that are important, as well as what we don't think are all that important until we don't listen to the nudge of get off at this exit and suddenly we're stuck in traffic. That information can come to us in all kinds of ways. A feeling in your gut, a tiny voice, dreams, coincidences, synchronicities, the right person or book or information showing up at exactly the right time, etc. The key is to listen. I simply wasn't listening, and things just kept getting worse and worse, which is exactly what happens when we don't listen. I was unhappy and miserable. I felt lost and completely stuck. I was so depressed that there were days I could barely drag myself out of bed, and the only thing that made me get up was that I had a court hearing scheduled and I was required to show up. I must admit, there were a few times I seriously thought of suicide, but I didn't have the nerve to follow through with it. I was attending weekly sessions with a therapist who was an energy worker, and she became very concerned about me. She also did kinesiology. When we muscle tested, it said that I should go on a retreat for 7 days. There's no way I can leave my law practice or spend the money for 7 days, I told her. So we agreed that I would go somewhere and stay there for 3 days. When I was trying to figure out where to do a retreat, I suddenly heard the word Sedona in my head. Again, my intuition was giving me a clue. I had heard of Sedona, but I had never been there, and I didn't even realize it was in the Arizona mountains. Through a strange set of coincidences again, my intuition at play, I found a woman who had a small retreat center outside of Sedona, Ranjita, asked if I wanted to do any sessions with her while I was staying there, and I told her no. I really shouldn't have been spending the money on the retreat, much less doing sessions. But when I got there, Ranjita and I sat in front of the fire and talked, and I told her about my situation. At some point, she said, "Your law practice is sucking the life force out of you. Something inside me told me to forget about the money and do the session." Again, my intuition showing up and giving me a very valuable nudge. The session was truly extraordinary. I've always had a huge connection with ancient Egypt, and during the session, Isis, the winged mother goddess, appeared in a vision. She lovingly wrapped her wings around me and told me everything would be okay, but then she said, "If you don't leave your law practice now, you're going to die like your mother did." Who is sitting behind you? That would be Dea. Hey, Dea. How are you? Yeah, you're a good girl. If you don't leave your law practice, you're going to die like your mother did. Oh my goddess. This time I got the message. I quickly realized that I was exactly the age my mother was when she had gotten sick and died 5 years later from cancer. She had been completely devastated by my father's alcoholism and infidelity, as well as the financial destruction all that had wrought. She was devoutly Catholic and felt she couldn't get a divorce. She was unhappy, frustrated, felt stuck, and hopeless. I always believed she left him the only way she could. She got sick and died. It was an unconscious choice, to be sure, but a choice nonetheless. I saw how I had put myself on the same path as she. I felt all the things she had felt, unhappy, frustrated, stuck, and hopeless. Now, I could see that I had the same choice, but my choice was going to have but my choice was going to have to be a much more conscious one. Did I want to live or did I want to die? I knew I definitely wanted to live, but I didn't see how I could possibly leave my law practice. None of it made sense. If I left my law practice, what would I do? I had no ideas for any other way of bringing in money to support the two of us. I spent the next 2 weeks trying to figure out with my lawyer brain how I was with my lawyer brain how I was possibly going to leave my law practice when we were $50,000 in debt. We had no money in savings, and I was our sole support. I added and subtracted, but I couldn't figure anything out. During this time, I was doing a lot of praying and meditating. I was also asking God for help, but this time I wasn't begging or complaining. I was simply reaching out. Suddenly, there was a day when I had finished a meditation where I had asked to be shown what I was supposed to do. I was overcome with a knowing, an energy that filled my entire body. It felt like nothing I had ever experienced before. Along with this knowing came a feeling of trust that filled me completely. Next came this huge wave of gratitude. I was weeping as I got on my knees. The deep knowing of my intuition had completely filled me. Okay, God, I get it that I have to do this and I'm going to do it. I promised God. If it means selling the house and selling one of the cars and living in the other one and never going anywhere again, I love to travel, so that would have been a hard one. Okay, I'll do it, but you've got to give me some help here. Less than 8 hours later, I got a phone call from one of my former clients. At the end of the conversation, he told me that he had just bought a new mortgage refinancing business. I asked him if it would be possible to refinance my house to get a lower monthly payment. He called me back in 10 minutes and said, I can cut your mortgage payment in half, plus I can get you $50,000 in cash. I had never told him or anyone else that I was $50,000 in debt because I was ashamed of it. Suddenly, in an instant, the weight of 5 years of worry was gone. It was gone within 8 hours of asking God for help. It was gone within 8 hours of going into that deep place of surrender and listening to my intuition. I asked, I listened, I made a decision, and I got exactly the help I needed. And that was just the beginning. I spent the next 3 years going back and forth to Sedona for a month at a time to do deep healing work. I thought I would only be able to leave my practice for 1 year, but Tom's new internet marketing business started taking off, and he began supporting me, both emotionally and financially, for which I am eternally grateful. Suddenly, in 2001, 3 weeks before 9/11, I was in Sedona doing a session in the same room where my high self had appeared to me in a vision almost 3 years before. My high self came in again as Isis, and this time she said, it's time to move to Sedona. I responded, why? What am I going to be doing in Sedona? I got no response. One of the things I have learned over the years is that the high self doesn't usually show you the complete picture, only the next step. Mine had shown me the next step. My brain started kicking in, telling me how crazy it was to move to Sedona. It made absolutely no sense from a financial standpoint. Tom had gone to work for his Tom had gone to work for his largest client and had a great job in Omaha, along with health insurance and stock options. And I had no idea what I was going to do in Sedona. But over those previous 3 years of doing all the work I had done on myself, the one thing I had definitely learned was how important it was for me to listen to my intuition and do what I was being told. Within 24 hours of receiving that message, I got a phone call from one of my new Sedona friends who said, I hear you're moving to Sedona. Note, I had not told anyone I was moving to Sedona. I'm leaving for India for 6 months to film a documentary. Would you like to rent my house? It's a fabulous house, and the rent offer was almost too good to be true. I said yes. I went back to Omaha.
Tom was excited about moving to Sedona and loved it there. We put our house on the market and it sold in 3 days. The real estate agent had said that it would take 6 months, for more than what the real estate agent had predicted. I told I took that as another sign that following my intuition was the thing I had to do. We moved to Sedona, and I sat there for 6 months awaiting some insights, but nothing transpired. I would pray to God and say, I did what you told me to do. I came here. Now what? Suddenly, over those next few months, I started having dreams about what would become my work, Sedona Soul Adventures. I knew that dreams are another way of our higher self and intuition brings information and answers to us, so I started paying close attention. In the dreams, I was being shown that over the past 3 years, I had worked with so many extraordinary healers in Sedona, and perhaps as importantly, I also knew which ones weren't that great. I saw how I was the private one on one sessions and not group workshops. It was the private one on one sessions and not group workshops that had made all the difference. I remembered how I had told certain friends who wanted to come to Sedona, you should do a session with this person and this person and this person and stay at this place and be sure to have dinner at Dal and Di Luca. On a very small scale, I was already doing it. My intuition had shown me my path and was telling me what to do. That was 20 years ago. Since then, we have helped tens of thousands of people with our private custom designed retreats. Individuals leave happy, content, and at peace, knowing their life's purpose and ready to live it. Couples are able to let go of the resentments of the past, rediscover the love that brought them together in the first place, and bring the sizzle back into their relationship. It's ironic to me that I was a divorce attorney for 20 years, and now I've spent another 20 years doing so much to save and renew countless marriages. Hopefully, the karma is balanced out by now. Even after all these years and helping thousands of people, I'm still amazed at what happens. We even teach an online class on how to connect with your intuition because I know what a difference following my intuition has made in my own life. Over the years, I have had many people say to me, oh, you must have been so brave leaving your law practice. That must have taken so much courage. I never felt brave. I never felt like I was doing something out of the ordinary. I was simply listening to what I was being told and then doing what I was being told. It took me 5 years to finally start listening, but once I started listening, each next step just seemed like the logical thing to do. The icing on the cake was with my own love life. Tom and I amicably ended our 20-year marriage in 2010, and he is now happily living in Bali. He became a first-time father at the age of 60. I was happily single for 6 years until something happened that made me realize I wanted to bring in a true soul partner, something I had never had before. I used the principles we teach at Sedona Soul Adventures and did sessions with many of my practitioners to eliminate any blocks to bringing that in. I utilized the processes I talk about in my book, The Journey to Be Happy, how embracing the concept that nothing is wrong can transform your life to manifest the perfect connection. In November 2016, I was sitting with my sister sipping champagne and watching the sunset at the Del Mar. Del Mar actually means of the sea, so she should say at Del Mar. But anyway, she did say at the Del Mar Hotel. Okay, never mind. Actually, never mind. In November 2016, I was sitting with my sister sipping champagne and watching the sunset at the Del Mar Hotel on the beach in Santa Monica, California. I had just taped an episode of a reality show for singles looking for their soulmate, teaching them how to remove energetic blocks such as I'm not lovable to bring in their perfect partner. When I received a ding from Match.com that someone had liked me, I had been on Match.com the entire 6 years since my divorce and never found anyone who I had more than a cup of coffee or glass of wine with. I looked at Richard's picture and felt a hit. Then I saw that he lived in San Jose, California, and I felt an immediate disappointment. After my previous long distance relationship, I had decided I didn't want to do that again, so I had made the decision to not even respond to anyone who was further away than Phoenix, Arizona. I found that if I even engaged enough to say I don't want a long distance relationship, it would start this back and forth of communication that usually ended negatively. So eventually I just stopped responding to all to those people, even though it felt a little rude. I it I showed the picture to my sister and she said, "He's cute." I read his profile where he focused on his work and his spirituality. My intuition kicked into overdrive. I literally could hear a voice telling me to respond to him and forget about following my rule because he was so far away. I thought to myself, for this one, I'm not going to be rude. I sent him a message back. You look great, but you're in San Jose. With my rational brain thinking that would probably be the end of it. But it wasn't the end, it was the beginning. And 1 year later, we married in Sedona, surrounded by the red rocks and friends, my family, and my practitioners. Every step of the way, I listened to my intuition, and am I ever glad I did? It has brought me the work of my dreams, my soul partner, and a happiness I never imagined was possible. It's all available to us if we will ask, listen, act. That's how she writes it. That's how she writes it. Anyway, so the part about her is Debra Stangl is an example of how life is full of second chances. After practicing law for over 20 years in Omaha, Nebraska, Debra had a spiritual reawakening in Sedona, Arizona in 1999. After moving to Sedona in 2001 and founding Sedona Soul Adventures in 2002, Debra developed the unique process of deeply transformational private retreats that are custom designed for individuals and couples, not groups, utilizing over 60 of Sedona's master practitioners. Sedona Soul Adventures was named Best of Sedona for retreats in 2020, 2021, and 2022, named Best Marriage Retreats for the U.S. 2017 through 2022, Best Couples Retreats around the world 2022 by Brides Magazine, and has been featured in USA Today, the Today Show, the Washington Post, Forbes, Elle, Yoga Journal, and was named to the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing private companies in the United States in 2019. Debra also leads group trips. Debra also leads group trips each year to Egypt and Machu Picchu. Over 20 years ago, Debra developed a unique process called transformational life coaching, which combines traditional forms of personal coaching with intuition and vibrational alignment. She is the author of the #1 bestseller, The Journey to Happy, how embracing the concept that nothing is wrong can transform your life. Co-author of Dancing in the Unknown with Becky Chassie, producer of What the Bleep Do We Know, and co-author of the #1 international bestseller, Awakening the Amazing in You, with Janet and Chris Atwood, authors of The Passion Test. Connect with Debra at www.sedonasouladventures.com. Now, the interesting part of this is that she has done this, and we are reading about people who follow their intuitions. And intuition will never lead you wrong. The only part of finding ourselves being led to wrong places has to do with leading ourselves with our conscious voice which is our brain voice. Our intuition is in our gut, our heart, our brain, but in our heart as well as our brain. So if you connect your heart and your mind, your gut to your mind, you will be able to follow your intuition. It's going to be a sitting or quieting, or you can stand, a meditative practice, or a self. What you try to do is you try to think about nothing, but you also can try to think about being half here and half there. Just being half present, close your eyes, and try to be half present here, and half thinking about your breath. Your breath. Count your breath, and you will find that it is a good thing. So, anyway, that's about all I can say, and I will see you tomorrow. I'm sorry about this lighting and how I was late, but we think we have read something very good. Wickedly Smart Women. Wickedly Smart Women is trusting intuition, taking action, transforming worlds, put together by Angel B. Hartwell. Okay, so we will see you tomorrow then. Okay, old Kinder. Bye.